Back on the record on Edgecomb. Silence in the gallery, please. Mr. Hibner, any rebuttal?
No.
Good. I was hoping that was the answer. I'm going to bring the jury in. I'm going to tell them that both sides are rested. We can discuss outside their presence. I will discharge them. We can discuss jury instructions. The plan will be this. We're going to discuss jury instructions. The state has drafted the instructions. I'm going to excuse the jury. I will tell them to be back tomorrow at 9. If there's any last-minute things, we can deal with them between 8:30 and 9 tomorrow. I will read the closing instructions tomorrow after we agree on them. I think the state suggested 1 hour. The defense asked for an hour and a half. I will grant the defense request that was made off the record. Each side can have up to an hour and a half for closings, but that's a hard stop, and both sides should remember that sometimes less is more. Don't feel obligated to use every minute of the hour and a half. But I will tell the jury, be back at 9 o'clock and ready to go. We can discuss jury instructions outside their presence. I will excuse them. I will obviously have all 13 come back tomorrow, though one of them will, of course, be excused. That's how we'll proceed. I'll bring them in. I'll excuse them with the regular instructions at the end of the day. I'll tell them to be back at 9 tomorrow for closing instructions and closings. You can bring them in, Deputy, please. Jury's coming in. Silence, please. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start with this. If you can pass your notepads to my bailiff. The reason you're doing that is because the testimony is closed. In this case, neither side, the state nor the defense, will be presenting any additional witnesses or testimony. The evidence in this case is closed. That means that I will, it's about 4 o'clock, I will excuse you today and ask that you're back tomorrow. If you can come back between 8:30 and 9, we will start promptly at 9 o'clock. I am, and the lawyers, all of us, are not going to leave when you're excused. I have to discuss some things with them, including jury instructions. Tomorrow, when you're back, I will first read you the jury instructions in this case. At the start of the case, last week, I read you some instructions. They were relatively succinct. At the close of the case, meaning tomorrow morning, there will be additional instructions. And frankly, these instructions are a bit longer. But when you deliberate, eventually, obviously 12 of you deliberate, you will have a copy of the instructions that the lawyers and I have agreed on and that I've read to you. Obviously, the good news is you're getting a break a little early. I recognize that I, to a degree, underestimated the length of the trial, but clearly with the evidence closed, all that's left is basically closing arguments from both sides, and then the case will be submitted to 12 of you for deliberations. As you've probably figured out by now, I mean, a trial, any trial is fluid, it's dynamic. Sometimes witnesses take longer than you anticipate that they will. Sometimes lawyers have to discuss things with the court. There's all kinds of factors. As a sports fan, it's more like a baseball game where you go to a baseball game and know it's probably, I think they're too long, but probably going to be done around 3 hours. Some are done, if you're lucky, in 2.5 hours. Others drag on 3.5, 3:45, 4 hours. That's why I'm more of a college basketball fan. Starts at 7, done at 9, you're out. But a jury trial is more dynamic, more fluid. I apologize that I underestimated basically by a day in terms of the length of the trial. But the evidence is closed, the testimony is closed, so all that will happen tomorrow is jury instructions, which I will read, which will take about maybe 20 minutes, and then closing arguments from both sides. As you will recall, yesterday I brought in bagels, today I brought in coffee. I'm running out of things to bring in, but I'll come up with something for tomorrow. I appreciate all of your efforts, your attentiveness to my observation. All of you have been very attentive. You've been back every day right on time. You've been back from lunch on time. It has appeared to me that all of you have been paying attention to the witnesses, the testimony, the evidence. I certainly appreciate that. The parties appreciate that. So you get to cut out a few minutes early today. While it's thankfully still light out, be back tomorrow 8:30 or 8:45, and we will try to start promptly at 9 o'clock. Any questions on the way out, let my bailiff or bailiffs know. Of course, by now you know the instructions. Don't discuss this case. Don't deliberate. Don't, whatever you do any research in this case. Don't view or read or watch any accounting of this case in the media or anywhere else. I trust you've been following my rules and requests for the last 6 days approximately, so I trust that you will continue to do that tonight. Have a good evening. We'll see you back tomorrow. Be back 8:30, 8:45, and we'll start promptly at 9. Everybody else can remain seated. Follow my bailiff out. Thanks, everybody. All right, the jury's been excused. In terms of jury instructions, the state drafted them, I believe, submitted them to the court this morning. They include the basic instructions,